see it's getting darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Grid Life's Lecott Classic, the destination is Road America, the National Park of Speed. Free ride in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race leaders. We head down to the first corner.
And these guys have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slipping.
Side by side for the race lead. 54, 48 through 3 and 4. Working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill.
This will be a great run for Fuller here.
Yes, if we go right off the track in the final quarter, that'll absolutely get a massive.
Here he comes.
Does he have a look?
Oh, big block there by Sanfilippo. Into the grass goes Ben Fuller toward turn 1, and Sanfilippo hangs on. He's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backs out. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall, and Tarantassic hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. That's a huge
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, trying to make a run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli. And the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event.
John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3 car gets turned around in the front of the car.
James Houghton looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. A bit of a gap behind. I think that's about 15th or 16th spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for this.
Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag racing line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door. Banging doors. Fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
With only 3 rounds remaining in the 2021 season, the Outsider Racing League heads to Music City and Nashville Super Speedway. Tonight is the third to last race of the 2021 season, with Michigan next week before we conclude the season at Darlington on July 31st, the end of the month. My name is Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn. At Nashville Super Speedway, Connor, while this isn't the same size as a typical Super Speedway, it is pretty super, and I'm glad to be here with you tonight for 150 laps at Music City here at Nashville Super Speedway. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate being in the booth once again with you. I always enjoy doing a race with you, and especially a race like this, Nashville Super Speedway. Immediately when it was added into iRacing, it was one of my favorite tracks. I love this track because you got high speeds, going 180 into turns 1 and 3, but you also have to get on the binders real quickly. You gotta slow it way down in these tight corners. A concrete 1 1/3 mile oval, and it's very super, like you were talking about. It's gonna be a very fun track. We're gonna see a lot of fun racing. We're gonna see some aspects of big 1.5-mile track racing. We're gonna see some short track aspects come into play as well. I'm excited.
Well, Nashville Super Speedway, it's called a Super Speedway to differentiate itself from the Fairgrounds racetrack not too far away. This track is in Lebanon, Tennessee, population 26,190. Tonight, this is going to be the first time ever that Nashville Super Speedway has been on a SimTV broadcast. Again, the track reopened in 2021 and brought NASCAR back after a hiatus of a handful of years. The track was constructed back in 2001, so it's still relatively new, and it looks very, very good here in iRacing. And Connor, qualifying is underway with the championship standings. Last week, Zach Carr dominated at North Wilkesboro. Tonight, though, he's going to have to continue. He's only got an 11-point lead over Jonathan Hernandez, but with 2 rounds remaining after this, that lead is not as big as I'm sure he'd like it to be.
No, definitely not. I think he expected more from himself. He got good points at Daytona, but after that incident at Chicago, got into a bit of a incident there entering pit road, didn't do as well as he could have. Hernandez won that race, and then Zach Carr comes back with an absolutely dominating performance. He almost, if he didn't get max points, he was darn close, and he's looking to put away this championship. I think he's going to be really good tonight. Michigan's a track that's kind of random with the draft package there, but I know he's a wheelman at Darlington, so the rest of the schedule plays in his favor. An 11-point lead, I expect that to be bigger by tonight.
So first cars across the timing and scoring, Chuck Sweeting goes across, and one of the things I was surprised with is the number of drivers. It's a very strong field here tonight, Connor. Over 24 cars we've got this evening, and Jonathan Hernandez goes straight to the top of the board with a 29.58. The competition is going to be good this week with those extra cars. We only had 1 caution last week at North Wilkesboro, though. Is there potential for a little bit more chaos here tonight at Nashville?
I think there is. I think a lot of drivers tonight probably don't have the handle of this track just yet. A lot of drivers are putting in extra laps, extra time, trying to get acclimated to this track. It's there's really no other track you can compare Nashville Super Speedway to. It's one of a kind, in my opinion. A concrete track that isn't Dover or Bristol, and it's bigger than a mile. It's definitely something to behold, and I think a lot of drivers are going to be called out by how hard you have to brake into these corners. We might see some issues entering these corners.
Alex Bell back this week in the number 15 Sim Motorsports car. He was at the top of the order for just a moment. Then Adam Cabot went a little bit quicker. 29.382 for the number 77. Now Cabot in the points this season, I don't think he's been much of a factor, and that is because he is not in the chase. But while he's only shown up for 8 races, he has won 2. So we can never count out Cabot whenever he shows up, even with other drivers like the current points leader, Zach Carr, having won 4 of 14 races. That's the most of any driver. And also to note, Zach Carr has missed 4 more races than Hernandez in second. So that 37 car, he has been good, and he's going to go straight to the top of the order, right where that 37 car was last week.
Yeah, by about 5.5 hundredths over Adam Cabot, who Carlisle actually tied Adam Cabot with 29.381, so they'll be second and third in whichever order. That 37's going to be really hard to beat if you give him track position tonight.
So, well, he's got the track position here early, and we talked briefly about, prior to the broadcast, about what it takes to be good here. This is a track that, again, I don't have a lot of experience watching. I actually missed the real-world races. I didn't see how it really raced. This is a concrete surface, Connor, and one of the things about concrete is it doesn't gain or reduce temperature as quickly. It's not as temperature controlled, but it is warm out there, 114 degrees Fahrenheit. That's hot for a concrete track especially.
Yeah, definitely for a concrete track. We saw in the Cup race with this low downforce package that people were really slipping and sliding. The groove got all the way pretty close to the wall in the real-life event for the Cup cars. I don't know if we'll see much of that tonight because that bottom line, even when the groove widened out, was pretty dominant for Kyle Larson, who dominated that Cup event. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there, but I expect a lot of people to be fighting for the bottom early on, and I don't expect that to change. I think right next to where the concrete meets the apron, I think that's where everyone's going to want to try to be.
So, as we wait for qualifying to complete, Zach Carr, Adam Cabot, Ryan Carlisle, Alex Bell, Brennan Bowers are the top 5 in the order. Bowers running a relatively new livery here on this Sim Motorsports car. And speaking of the Sim Motorsports team and the manufacturer lineup, here's a look. 2 Chevys, a Ford, and 2 Toyotas in the top 5, and pretty good representation all throughout the top 10. And one driver I want to keep an eye on tonight is Casey Leconus in the number 50. Connor, we've seen in the past, thinking back to a few weeks ago at Chicagoland Speedway, it seems like that 50 car gets better and better as the runs go on. And if we get long green flag runs, that 50 car is usually a top 10, if not a top 5 contender. The short sprint races, though, I think you're better off looking with picking somebody else.
Yeah, this is just something Lecott thrives at. He comes to these tracks that not a lot of people know about, and he just knows how to extend the tire life longer than anyone else can. He doesn't have the short run pace. You see him down in the 14th position, about 3/10 off that pole time. But whenever it comes down to a slipping and sliding racetrack and you're all over the place and people are fighting for grip, he's usually the guy that rises to the occasion and gets it to the field when everyone else is backtracking. So I expect him to be in the top 10 by the end of any long run here tonight.
Well, having a look down from high above here at Nashville Super Speedway for the first ever race from Nashville here on Sim TV. As we head down to the racetrack, you'll see the field lining up at the end of the pit lane here on the right-hand side of your screen. And let's get a look at the front row here and all the rows. Let's roll through the starting grid. On row number 1, it's going to be Zach Carr in number 37, Adam Cabot in the 77. It starts on the outside of the front row, Connor, in a Chevrolet.
Yeah, those two are going to be very tough to beat. Then the second row, Ryan Carlisle and Alex Bell, 2 very fast competitors. Carlisle hasn't won in a while, same for Alex Bell. Brandon Bowers, a short-run demon, qualifies 5th. He's always fast. Ray Massey, the winner at Atlanta, he's 6th alongside Bowers. Jeff Wright, Bailey Turner on row 4. Wright trying to get back into the championship race. And the Daytona winner, Matthew Close, alongside 2nd place in the points, Jonathan Hernandez.
In row number 6, it's going to be Chuck Sweeting in the number 74. And alongside him, the 75 of Robert Gaba. He'll start in 12th. And behind them is Joshua Banks and the aforementioned Casey Leconus in the number 50. In row number 8, Caleb Weekly in the number 10, Ben Lafter in the 64, followed by row 9, Mike Hurley and Brian Chambliss. Then it's Bryce Calusa, Eddie Trejo in row number 10 in the number 20 and 21 cars, respectively. Clifton Cockrell, Jake Fluman in the number 89 will roll off in 22nd. Then it's Brad Allison in the number 3, Ricky Williams, Joshua Collins, and David Mott Jr. wrapping up the 26-car grid. Connor, field is deep. 150 laps is not a short race around here. That's about an hour and 13 minutes flag to flag. How aggressive are you on the start? How conservative are you, perhaps, especially if you're Zach Carr trying to maintain that points lead?
I think for Zach Carr, you've got to be somewhat aggressive because Adam Cabot on these concrete tracks, I raced with him on concrete tracks. He's a demon at Dover. He's great at Bristol, and he absolutely destroyed me at Nashville in another league earlier this year. He's really tough at these sort of tracks. He knows how to save the tire as well. Zach Carr does as well, but Cabot's always the guy to try to beat here. It's going to be between those two if I had to guess.
So field rolls off now for their pace lap around Nashville Super Speedway. Going to take the green. We already mentioned the track temperature being pretty high. How does this track rubber in? This is concrete. It makes things a little bit more interesting when it comes down to rubbering up the racetrack, Connor. It seems like concrete is typically a little bit more abrasive and will take rubber better, but how is it raced in the simulator? Has it been sort of a bottom-feeding racetrack, or can you move around a little bit?
I've seen some bottom feeding. A lot of the time you just want to be next to that very bottom line, but it's tough to run that bottom line because there's really no line down there, no painted line or anything like that, so you really don't know where that apron starts. You just have to get as low as you can. If you hit that apron, you're going to be out of control close to the outside wall. Those outside walls come up in a hurry with those safer barriers. I don't think the groove's going to widen out, but we might see people trying to run that middle line because aero push is a factor at this track. I experienced it firsthand behind Cabot. You got to be careful. You might have to try something different, so I think we'll see some lines come into play.
Well, 14 degrees of banking is not a lot in particular, but we're going to get to see a really solid race tonight. 150 laps. 2 rounds remain after this race tonight for the Outsider Racing League. Green flag flies, and we're racing in Music City. Zach Carr leads the way off into turn number 1. Lap 1 complete. Carr leads the way. Cabot second. A bit of a shuffle happening behind them. The 24, Bailey Turner. Jeff Wright in the number 2. And Jonathan Hernandez in the number 19. He's the one second in points, trying to run down Zach Carr in the points, but he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to do that here. Connor started back in 10th. He's gained 1 spot up tonight.
He's going to have to really be on the charge tonight. With Zach Carr leading as much as he has the past 2 to 3 weeks, he's going to need to keep pace with him. And while Zach Carr leads these first few laps and he's back in 9th, that's not going to be enough. He has to make his way up there fast.
There's Brennan Bowers, the number 31, all over the back of Ray Massey, who had a really good start to the season. Big slide for Ray down in turn number 1 and 2. It's going to send Bowers up the racetrack trying to escape, and Bailey Turner with a big run, nowhere to go. He's going to have to sit on it for now.
That's the thing with these cars. He's actually going to go 3 wide into turn number 3 here. Bowers gives room. Bailey Turner actually backs out there. The thing with these cars, when I've raced them, the back end is strangely light. You don't have much of a feel for the rear end of these cars, but that usually comes into play out of the corner when the back end wants to slide, but it can be treacherous into these corners depending on where your brake bias is. You need a little brake bias to get it to rotate, but that can make you spinning on entry, like Ray Massey almost did.
Really tight between the 24 and 31 off of turn number 2. Jeff Wright's got a great perspective of this. Well, that was almost a touch there off into turn number 3. I see that Turner's kind of charging the corner on the bottom, and he has to slam on the brakes kind of mid-corner. That's upsetting the car, but it worked to get up to the 31, but it's leaving him vulnerable to the 2 car behind him.
And that's what we're going to see. That's Bailey Turner. No, we got a car in the grass, down the front stretch grass. Trying to see who that is way in the back. It looks like Michael Hurley, and it is. He's going to get back on track.
He's got back on track, a big moment there. Let's go back and see. We can pinpoint exactly how that happened. He just gets loose, just kind of caught it and corrected, but by that time he was already off course. So a big moment there, but he did a good job to gather it back up.
That's how light the back end can be, but he's able to save it. No harm, no foul, just lost some track position as we still got very tight racing around our track. Zach Carr gotten out to a big lead so far. Cabot kind of letting him go, and Alex Bell, Carwell, Mass at the top 5.
Riding on board Bryce Calusa in the number 20. In the points, Bryce is 6th. He gained a spot last week, but he's a long ways back from the overall lead in the points. 47 back, but he's only 5 back from a top 5 position. That's Casey Leconus. Leconus right now is running in front of him by 3 or 4 spots, so still some work to do if he wants to get there.
Definitely some work to do. I don't know how Calusa might feel about this season, but he had a really good chance at the championship last season for a long period into last year's chase, and it seems like he just more competitors came into play this season. He just has not had that overall race winning, even top 5 pace at times that he had last year, but he still put together a solid season, but he definitely wants to do better than he's doing in 15th right now. Up 4 spots with 19th.
Haley Turner all over the back of Brandon Bowers here for 6th place still. These guys got into a tussle a couple laps ago when Ray Massey went for a slide, but they have not yet sorted it out entirely. Still on board with Bowers on the run down to turn 1. Turner's taking that lower line, a bit of a slide there from both of them. Using a lot of those Goodyear tires right now here, Connor.
Bailey's trying to enter lower than Bowers, get any air on the nose that he possibly can. Bowers almost hitting the wall down the back straightaway there. That's just the 24 trying to find any aero advantage he possibly can. That's how bad that aero push can be. You need to find every very little bit of air, clean air you possibly can to get that run out of the corner, get a run on Bowers or anyone else in racing.
Off into turn number 1, Ryan Carwile putting pressure on the back of Alex Bell. Again, the drivers that are in the playoff contention have the blue spoilers, banners, and splitters. You can see Carwile has those. And again, Ryan comes into the night running down the ways in the points, down in 10th. He had a pretty good season up until the chase began, and then since then it has not quite gone his way. Well, I mean, I guess you can't really say that entirely. He's had good results, but it just hasn't been good enough to keep him at the top of the standings.
I think he's also missed 2 races in the chase, so that doesn't help either. I don't think he's ran all the races, so that could obviously come into play when you're points racing at the end of the season. It's unfortunate, but regardless, he has had a good season. Hasn't gotten the win that he got last season at Charlotte, but he still would get it over the end.
Up onto the front straightaway again, Zach Carr out front by 1.7 seconds. He is leaving no doubt that he is the favorite to win this championship. He's just in another zip code already. Out in front by almost 2 seconds. Everyone else still fighting for scraps for second.
Cabot might be letting him go. I know Cabot knows how to save the tires, and so does Zach Carr. Zach Carr's got the clean air to go with that, so I think that 37's going to look pretty good, and Cabot's going to have to try something different than he did. They'll still holding on to 3rd. Matthew Posh has hit the apron. He shoots way up the racetrack and will lose a spot to Chuck Sweeting because of that.
Chuck Sweeting in the 74 will get on by. And actually just ahead of them, Jonathan Hernandez had a bit of a moment on a turn 4 as well. He's going to back right up to that green car too. I think Closewant's back by. Here comes Casey Leconus, a different livery for him here this week. Oh boy, is that what I think it is on the nose of that car?
Oh, that's what you think it is now. I love the addition of your head he put there. It's great. Great for marketing.
Maybe. Out of turn 4.
I think so. They're getting really tight. No, the 50's going to back out. He doesn't want to ruin that beautiful logo. That's great.
There's Ben Lafter now looking on the outside and it's charging into turn 1. I've seen a lot of drivers do that so far. And even the first 13 laps, Connor, just chucking the car into the corner. They kind of stomping on the brakes. It's not very smooth looking, but is it the fast way around here?
I wouldn't consider doing it. I feel like that puts a lot of stress on the right front tire and the right rear, considering you're just sliding the entire car into the corner. But for short run pace, I'm sure that's the way to go. It's just never how I would like to drive the track, as Banks almost had a moment almost into the wall there right in front of Ben Lafter. But I'd go a bit smoother into the corners, but whatever floats your boat, I think that can work as well on a short run. Carrying a lot of speed in there. He's going to get into Joshua Banks.
Oh!
Lafter spins. They're going to get sideways and everyone saves him, but Joshua Banks got the boot there.
That was a big moment. Let's go back and have a look at that off into turn 1. Lafter just goes down the inside, doors sort of open, but then just tags the 36 in the left rear quarter panel. Nice job by Banks to gather that back up.
Same for Calusa and I think Case Leconus as well. Someone else in the wall possibly there. Oh, it's Case Leconus. He might have gotten to the back of Calusa there actually in that stack up. He's got a lot of front end damage.
Yeah, that's pretty crippling front end damage. That's going to hurt quite a bit.
Talk about how he's not trying to destroy that face in that logo. And what does he do?
Already got Eddie Trejo knocking on the door. That's for 16th place. Keeping an eye on the tire fall off as well. I'm interested in how these tires are going to perform long run, as we've got Bell and Carwile side by side for 3rd. Curious about the tire fall off here. If we have a look at the lap times, Ryan Carwile last time by was almost basically a 1.5 seconds slower than his best. So that's 16 laps in. That's a pretty significant drop in pace as Massey gathers up a slide out of turn 2.
Speaking of significant drops, Zachary Carr's lead is going down. 1.3 seconds is down to from 1.7. Last time by, Cabot almost 0.2 faster than the 37. He was saving tires at the beginning, I bet, and he's using those tires now trying to get back to Zachary Carr. Another 10th taken out of the lead.
Here comes Bailey Turner up the inside of Ray Massey. He'll grab 5th spot away. Behind him, Bowers and Wright battling for 7th.
So Wright's going to get that position. Pass him around the outside. So we are starting to see some drivers try to venture up there to make passes because we've seen how difficult it is to hold that bottom line under a driver. Jeff Wright just decided to go around someone, screw the bottom. I'm going up the elevator, up to the top line, and he's going to take that 7th position, 6th position actually.
Seen a lot of mobility for the start of this race, a bit more than I would have expected. It seems like making mistakes is pretty easy, while track position I still think is the way to go. It doesn't look like it's impossible to pass, which is promising to say the least. Chuck Sweeting works over Jonathan Hernandez now for 9th.
Hernandez works over Bowers at the same time. A 3-car fight for this 8th position as Bowers continues to drop. Hernandez enters very low, backs up to the center of the corner to get the run off the corner, but Chuck Sweeting timed it perfectly. He's going to get the run on both of his drivers, but no moves made.
Onto the apron on the front straight for the 31, going defensive. To the 19, look a little bit higher up the racetrack. Here's Sweeting, back it down, and then he's going to kind of get that late apex, kind of the road racing line, throttle back up and try to build a run, but not much to do on the back straight just yet.
Just not getting enough of a run to have a look into the corner. He can get to the quarter panel with Hernandez, but that's just not close enough to make any sort of move into the corner. Brandon Bowers hit the apron. That's how easy it is to hit the apron at this track with no time to tell you where it is. He loses a lot of time exiting the corner. He's going to give Hernandez the bottom.
Into turn 1, Bailey Turner on an upward trend right now. He just grabbed a spot from Alex Bell, is behind him. Hernandez goes to the bottom of the 31, and he should get the spot this time through.
While Alex Bell did the crossover on Bailey Turner, he's going to get that spot back, and he's going to bring Ray Massey with him.
Oh, big slide there for the 15, and a touch maybe between the 23 and 24. Sends Turner way up the racetrack. I'm sure he'll remember that one.
Yeah, Massey just barely missed the bottom, but with how you have to pinch on that outside line, you don't have any room for error, or else you're going to hit the guy on the outside like Ray Massey just did. He's going to back out to give Bailey Turner a spot, and Jeff Wright's going to come to the outside of Massey.
He's going to try. Haven't seen a lot of drivers use that upper groove just yet, even to grab extra momentum. It's going to help right here just a touch. But I think jury's still out on if that upper groove is worth trying to make passes on. Wright did complete that one.
The only one making the move up there so far, and he's made a decent amount of passes up there. We'll see what that does for the tires in about maybe 15 to 20 laps, but pretty good doing it so far. Looking at the battle back there for 14th with Banks getting spun. Tires are hot. He's back to that 14th. Someone couldn't do it.
Getting racy back here. Brad Allison, the gold car, is having quite the look at all this. And back up to 4th place again. Turner again to the inside of Alex Bell. And that's going to bring Jeff Wright into the mix, and Wright's carrying a whole bunch of speed, but nowhere to go with it. Going to go to the high side now. Maybe tuck in behind the 24.
Give him a nice draft. He doesn't want to go to the top. Maybe finally wants to go to that bottom line. Bell really held a lot of these guys up. Look at the gap to Ryan Carwell in the 3rd position. About maybe 2 seconds even. It's over 2 seconds. And speaking of gaps, once again, that gap for the lead is closing. It was 8.5 tenths last time by. Have it taking another half tenth out of it the last lap.
15 pinching the 2 car down just a little bit on corner exit. And keeping an eye on that lead, as you mentioned, Zach Carr at one point was leading this race by nearly 2 seconds. It's now down to under 7 tenths. So lots of really close action all around the racetrack at the moment. Encouraged by how this is racing, that's for sure.
No, definitely. It's racing really well right now, and everyone's lining up for a shot at that 15 machine of Alex Bell. He's just stuck on the top trying to defend for what he's got, but this is all he probably has got. Ray Massey's going way to the high side. That's not working. Jeff Wright went all the way to the bottom. That's going to work. Get to the left rear quarter panel of Bell once again. Get a run on the bottom. Use that apron to get a bit of a boost. Entering turn number 1 there and get the edge. Bell checked up. He's going to get hit. That was Hernandez who hit him. He's going to save it. Not before pressing the wall.
Man, Bell, I think Bell checked up and just got annihilated down there in turn 1. Let's have another look.
Trying to see. I think he wanted to. I think he was letting Jeff Wright by.
Yeah, that was a miscommunication to say the least.
Yeah, he was letting Wright by, and I think he actually let off way more than he wanted. Hernandez wasn't ready at all. Plowed into the back with a lot of front damage on the 19 now. Not what he needed. 15 has damage as well. Look at the drastic drop off here. Yeah. That was just wrong timing. He went to the wall to get an arc for the corner, and at the same exact moment, Bell lifted to let the let the 2 by.
It's not any less chaotic now. It's still a mess behind Chuck Sweeting. 19, the 23, 15, and the 31 all back here. And the lead is still getting even closer. Half a second between the two race leaders. This is real wild out of turn 4.
I think that made the chaos worse because you got two guys dropping through the field. Hernandez and Bell really getting affected by their damage. Bowers, Massey, Sweeting, all by them, let alone Jeff Wright being turned up by all that skirmishing.
Well, I think for now they might have sorted it. I'm nervous to pull away from what could be our first caution. We are caution-free so far. The 19 to the 15, I still think are perhaps disagreeing on what happened a couple laps ago.
I think that was just a bad timing deal. Really no blam on either guy. Matthew Close is going to go by Hernandez. Close has been in the wall. He has damage of his own. Hernandez sliding into turn number 1. The car not liking what it's seeing from Hernandez right now.
Back up front. Well, we noted the 77 gaining time, but also have a look at Ryan Carlisle, not too far behind in that VT71. As we near lap number 30, this is the 1/5 mark of the race, and the lead is getting pretty tight here.
Yeah, I think we've pointed out the 3 drivers who are probably going to be in contention so far. Carr, the short run Carr, no doubt about it. He's the best to beat on the short run, and Cabot is just absolutely killing him on this long run. Zach didn't really keep the tires on it as well as he probably could have, probably should have, and that 77 is eating into his lead, as well as Carwell. These 3 drivers are about 4.5 seconds ahead of 4th place Bailey Turner.
Next time by will be the 1/5 mark of this race. Then we head to Michigan and Darlington to finish out the season.
Oh, Hernandez, he got really sideways off the 4. He is struggling bad right now. Someone else slow off of turn number 4. I think that was Robert Gavitt.
And Laughter and Matthew Close trading spots for 11th. And for the lead. Yep, here they go. Here comes Cabot to the inside. And I'm not sure that Carr is going to fight this a whole lot. I think he knows that he's getting run down.
He's gonna send it into 1 here. Try to pinch that 77 to the bottom. Race 4 championship, gotta be careful. They almost made contact. The 77 way sideways. The 37's got positioning on him. I just don't know how much you can fight him. That 77's way faster.
Yeah, I stand corrected. The 37 is fighting tooth and nail for this. Oh, they're going to touch again in 3 and 4. And meanwhile, Ryan Carlisle loves watching this. The 2 race leaders banging doors for the race lead here in Nashville. Across the line, lap 32. It is on for the race lead. 3 cars battling, wiggling and wobbling down into turn number 1.
The Cabot likes getting raced like that this early. He chased that car up the racetrack in the tri-oval, and that's going to ruin Carr's exit out of turn number 2. And the yellow's out just as it took the lead. Trying to see who that is. That might be Hernandez. Yes, it is.
It is. Jonathan Hernandez around on the front straightaway. And front straight's a weird place to crash. Let's see how it started.
He was struggling really badly.
Ooh.
Yep, he's spun out of 4, got more front end damage, but for what it was looking like it was gonna be, that's not too bad.
Another look at it. 3 goes by him, it's Brad Allison, the custom paints diecast car, that he just gets loose and then overcorrects and then just begins to do the tank slapper. Did a good job actually kind of gathering it back up. Could have been a lot worse, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that could have been complete race ending. I think a lot of that, he fell way through the field. I think that was frustration playing into it. It looked like he was swerving down the straightaways, completely frustrated with what had occurred with Alex Bell. And he brought out a yellow, not on purpose, but that gives him some time to cool down and hopefully get his head level, get the car repaired, and hopefully make another charge.
So first caution out, Adam Cabot takes the lead, and everyone hits pit lane for their first service of the night, which I'm sure everyone is going to enjoy getting after running for the last 30 or so laps with tires that are consistently getting older and aging. And Zach Carr especially likes that because he's been successful on the short run, and now he knows how much he needs to adjust to be better on the long run.
You know what Adam Cabot should be thankful for? The scoring loops around this racetrack for getting him that lead. The exact second he took that lead out of turn number 2, the yellow came out, so that worked in his favor. That plays a big part in getting out of pit road first, as Case Lecott is going to roll through pit lane to get a lap to the left potentially. We'll see big race off of pit road, Cabot and Zach Carr. Who's going to get the track position? It looks like it's going to be the 77.
Yeah, that was pretty easy launch off pit lane for Cabot. Looks like Zach Carr will come off in second, then Bailey Turner third, Ryan Carwell fourth, so move the 24 up a spot in the pit lane. Leconus will likely come down pit lane after leading a lap, grab himself a point. And this is crucial because he's had a bad start to the race, but he's still running in fifth in the points. So why not grab any points that you can get and then come down pit lane, get your tires, fix your car, and go back out there and try to get more points.
Might as well. We talked about it. These are the types of tracks he thrives on. And it doesn't matter how much damage he has. You can repair that and still run pretty well. It shouldn't affect the handling of the car too badly. Will probably just affect straight line speed mostly, and he should get back out there. He actually didn't lead a lap last time by, so he'll stay out one more lap to get the lap led this time.
So working lap number 34 of 150.
Ooh, quickly, Jeff Wright. Too many boxes on pit road, so he's going to be sent to the rear of the field.
Oh, man.
From 6th place, and that's big because we talked about Carlisle, Cabot, and Carr, and they were the top three, but Jeff Wright was slicing dicing through the field, and just like that, he's going to go right back to the very rear of the field. Not right back. He wasn't there before, but he's going to be there now.
A lot of work to do. 22 drivers to climb up the order through. Joshua Collins on pit lane. Went out for about 15 to 20 laps. 16 laps, and then came to pit lane and has parked it since then. So Cabot out front once Leconus hits pit lane. Now, what's the short run pace going to look like? Do you think Zach Carr is going to sit in behind Cabot and let him pace him, or do you think Carr is going to go out front and try to lead all the laps again, at least until the next run ends?
I think what Zach Carr saw there was that he is out to lunch on Adam Cabot on the long run. Apparently it's a 17 in Cabot from our view. That's interesting, but it almost looks like a 7. But regardless, Zach Carr knows he has Cabot beat on short run pace, at least from what we saw there. I think what he's going to want to do is probably get that lead straight away. He's going to have to race him hard for it, but I think that's what he has to do. I don't think he's going to be able to pass Cabot on a long run if he doesn't get by him early in a run. So I think track position for Carr is first place or nothing. So I think he's gonna have to work really hard to get this position.
So lights are off atop the pace car, and you just for full disclosure, Connor has a tornado warning. So if you have to go, just go. Or if you lose power, we'll know where you went.
We'll go with we'll see. I didn't think for the team, man.
Man, I had a tornado warning here in Chicago a couple weeks ago. It was scary. Like, it was because we had a legitimate tornado touchdown at a suburb just outside of here, and they were warning about 2-inch hail. And I was totally prepared to write off both my cars to hail damage that night, and I got really lucky that they didn't get hit. But man, it's not cool, man.
Oh, it definitely isn't. I don't think I've ever had. I haven't had one in a while here. New Jersey's not where you get tornadoes, yeah. So that's, I can't say I was expecting that, but we'll see. I want to see what happens with these two, whether I'm watching or whether I'm commentating and watching, or just watching in general downstairs in a basement. I want to see how Carr fights with his race lead, because like I said, I feel like it's first place or bust for him when it comes to that long run speed that Adam Cabot has.
All right, going racing again here from Nashville, Music City, for ORL's third to last race of the season. Michigan and Darlington to wrap up the rest of the season. Green flag back in the air, racing again from Nashville.
You can see those long tech teammates timed it out perfectly. Cabot easily gets the lead, and Bailey Turner is going to get second from Zachary Carr here. And Carr sends it hard on the outside. I don't know how much he can fight there.
Cabot leads the way at the exit of 2. Now door-to-door behind him between Turner and Carr. And Ray Massey, I think, was about to get split middle 3 wide for a moment. Looked like he got sorted out just a little bit, but still battle for second. I don't think Carr wants to give this up, but he's going to have to. Turner takes second.
Whoa, big swerve to the bottom for Calusa to get under Ray Massey. Hit the apron, got sideways a little bit, but he's going to make the move down below for that. I believe that is for the 6th position, as he's going to muscle his way to the bottom.
Notice the drivers on the ticker, the timing and scoring, that are lit up in gold. Those are the chase competitors, and the 31 is going to take him 3 wide down into turn 3. Now the 23 squirts off ahead and just take him 2 wide.
Yeah, what we're seeing on these short runs, people are fighting for the bottom tooth and nail, but once these tires get worn out and the group starts spreading out, you have people trying to make those passes on the outside, and I think that's what we're gonna see for the rest of this race. Is already this early in run, Alex Bell trying to make a pass on the outside on Brad J. Allison, trying to make some start position back up after making repairs, going for 13th, and he might get that spot. He will.
Bailey Turner getting geared up here to go for the race lead. He's got 2.5 tenths of a second, and that time through was a tenth faster than Adam Cabot.
Faster. How much is Cabot going to save? He saved behind the 37 last time, and it paid off, getting in the lead at the very end of that green flag run. This time, he's got clean air to work with. That's going to help his tire wear situation even more. Well, Zach Carr's in even dirtier air than Cabot was in behind his other long-tech teammate, Bailey Turner. As Turner's going to try to maybe play some defense for the 77.
So settling in perhaps for a long run. Here comes the 92 of Matthew Close to the inside of the 3, almost a touchdown there. There's Jonathan Hernandez with some damage. But again, this is not good for, not that any damage anytime is any good, but for especially for Hernandez coming in second in the points, just behind Zach Carr. He did not need to have any sort of damage on his car, inflicting wounds on what could have been a pretty successful night. He is going to be buried down here if he can't get that damage fixed entirely, and I'm guessing that that car is in trouble for at least a little longer until he can get that completely and entirely fixed.
Yeah, there was nothing he could do. The situation, it was just really just a bad, it was just a bad misunderstanding and just that timing for him and Bell. But he's still got to fight for whatever he can, trying to still get this 15th position away as Jeffrey's going to force it 3 wide in the bottom. Not a place you can really go 3 wide. Hernandez has to chop the 2 just to stay out of Allison's side. That was close, but I think Hernandez, seeing down these straightaways, might be down on power and he's struggling with that. He's just going to fight for whatever he can, and it's just really going to be an uphill battle for the rest of this race down.
For the race lead, it's getting very interesting. Cabot, Turner, Carr, Carlisle, the top 4. And Turner sharing a livery with the race leader. I'm not sure we're going to see a ton of aggression out of those two, but Zach Carr wants his lead back. He led the opening 31 laps in his 43 laps that we've completed, and I would think that he would like to go back to the front. He just got to figure out how to get around the 2 teammates before he can get there.
He wants to get to the lead, but he has to find out how to get to the runner-up spot first. And Bailey Turner's going to fight him really hard for that. It's been a while since Bailey Turner's won, let alone just ran an ORL race. He's going to fight really hard to stay with his teammate and keep Zach Carr away from his teammate while still trying to go for the lead. That 37 fast in the short run, I think if you can hold him off for 10 more laps or so, he has a good shot at pulling away from him.
Casey Lecott is dropping down the order all the way down in 21st. We documented him running through the pit lane earlier, and he did in fact manage to lead a lap and grab a lap-led point, but has to fight all the way back from currently 20th place. Clifton Cockrell dropping a few spots in the 28 car. New livery on this car as of a couple weeks ago, but has not really turned things around for him, unfortunately.
Just trying his best. First time he's made the ORL chase in 90 total starts. This will be his and Lecot's 91st starts tonight, and definitely a beautiful paint scheme, but just still trying to figure out how to get enough pace to get around this track.
Nice tight pack up here at the front. I can tell that Zach Carr is looking pretty impatient though sitting back here. The 24 offset about a half a car width to the left just to keep Carr from pointing up underneath it. But I'm watching Carr. He's apexing this later, but he's carrying a little bit more speed into the entry of the corner, and that could be what's causing his tires to wear out a little bit sooner. Is just that extra little charge off into the first, the first and third corner. That'll hurt you over a handful of laps.
Yeah, and he's got to realize that, or else he's going to lose even more positions on this run. He might lose one right here to Ryan Carlisle. He gave him too much of the bottom in 1 and 2, and he's going to barely clear Carlisle in the turn number 3. But the more he does overdrive his car in the entry and in the center especially, he's going to lose a lot more time right to the rear bumper of Bailey Turner. Got him sideways. Turner's going to block him all the way to the apron. Carr's going to switch it back up to the top lane.
Got overlap now off into turn 1, but can he use the outer groove to make a pass? We haven't really seen that be a super successful passing method yet. But he's got alongside, and he might be able to complete it down the backstretch. That's a heck of a move by Zach Carr, and something we have not seen yet tonight. So the outside groove has something, at least in 1 and 2. Let's see if it holds up in 3 and 4.
Got the run through the center. It looked like mind games in the turn 1. Bailey Turner lifted so Carr couldn't get to the bottom, but it's not going to work well for Bailey Turner. He might lose his second position to Zachary Carr. Not quite yet. He's going to get the run back on the bottom in the turn number 1, but it's going to be enough. They're 2 by 2.
Pinching the 24 to the bottom. He has to check up. And that's what's helping 37 get a little extra run. And he's almost clear, just has quarter panel overlap at this point.
Turn's going to send it hard, get a side drop into 3 and just completely send it, and that's going to almost get him back clear of the 37 completely. He's not going to be able to hold it very well out of turn number 4. Carr gets the advantage at the line, and Adam Cabot's absolutely loving this. He's pulling away.
I think the damage has already been done to Zach Carr. He's racing Turner so hard that any tire he would have had left to go up there and contend with the 77 is now going to be gone. He might win this battle, but he won't win the war if he's continuing to fight the battles with the 24 all night long. He's still not clear. Good stuff, though. Good side-by-side.
Funny enough about that quote, he is a Martin Truex fan, so he knows a lot about not winning that war. As he's gonna have to lift hard out of turn number 4. Did not have to drive off. They're gonna stay side by side. Look at the run the 71 of Carwell has. But he has nowhere to go with it. But push one of these guys. They're gonna be dead even in turn 1 yet again.
And which line do you push? Which one's been more successful? I'd argue that neither has. They're both sort of, stuck and stranded right where they are. I think whatever line Carwell chooses as support will be the successful one. Looks like the 37 might be clear this time off into turn number 3. Not quite. He's still got about an inch of overlap.
And he missed it there. He didn't pinch the 24 enough into a bumpy area of the track, and the 24 might outright clear him. Carr way sideways off of turn number 4, trying to get back to the right rear of Bailey Turner. He does. Carwell still trying to find a lane to go with. This time he goes with Bailey Turner.
Yeah, Carr's leaving too much on the bottom. That's going to let Turner re-clear him at the exit of turn 2, as long as he didn't allow him to get there, and that kind of borked up Turner just enough to get it fully alongside again. So swing the tiller the other way, and looks like Carr is going to pull dead even again through 3 and 4. Great stuff here, but I can't figure out who's going to win this battle. It's all happening a second and a half behind Adam Cabot.
Yeah, recognizing the side draft there, Carr didn't let Bailey Turner get his left rear there, and he's going to pinch him again. The battles behind him are outstanding too. This whole pack is punched up. Carwell on his own. Ray Massey and Chuck Sweeten have been side by side for about 5 laps themselves. Brandon Bowers, Bryce Calusa in this pack as well, as they stay almost dead even to the 3 advantage. Carr that time, though.
Turner's got to check up pretty majorly here in 3 and 4, but he digs so well off the corner. There's a side draft now.
Closer they get, the more risky it gets for that 37. He's got a good advantage to his championship rivals, Hernandez and Jeff Wright. You got to be careful. You got to know you're battling for a championship, not just this race win, but he's giving it his all on this top line. He's got a big advantage here. 24's going to try to pull him back with side draft. He turns him. Contact the 24 to the apron there. Big mistake.
Yeah, that was a big moment for the 24. And that, again, that's what happens when you open up the side draft here. There's the touch. Just a little bit too much there, Connor, getting a little bit out of hand, but that's the battle that you have to wage here. If you want to get a side draft, you got to get right to that quarter panel. That's a hard line to straddle sometimes without getting into somebody. That cost Turner a spot, though, but he was able to grab one of them back. He's now fighting the 71, and Carr is free and clear for second.
Yeah, at least Carr is clear, but how are those tires going to feel? Already 2 seconds behind that 77 Adam Cabot. You might as well just let him go and save the tire you have left and try to keep that runner-up spot. And like you said, that's what happens when you try side drafting. The iRacing connections might not always be perfect. It's not real life where contact is contact and all that. You got to really risk it if you want to side draft. And Bailey Turner took that risk, and it was just a bit too much. He tried getting out of it, but luckily they both got away with it. I don't think any damage. That 24 sideways, 3 wide. Ray Massey going to the bottom.
Yeah, he's going to take him 3 wide, and he'll grab the spot too, I think, at least from somebody. Someone's got to back out. No, they won't. The 23 bails out. That was almost a touch there. Really risky racing. I thought we were going to get geared up for a long run. These guys look like they want to put him in the fence.
Oh, Chuck Sweeting had to lift big time there. Bowers is going to go 3 wide on the apron. I don't think that can really work. He got sideways doing that, but they can make it work somehow. No, there's going to be contact between the 31 and 24. I don't know how this hasn't resulted in a big one yet.
Yeah, Calusa cut him a huge break and checked up and saved him a little bit. That puts him under pressure from Joshua Banks. There's Chuck Sweeting now to the back of Bowers, but all of that let Adam Cabot get out to a 1.6 second lead. He is not a chase competitor. He's all out front by 2 seconds, and he has no points that he's really caring about. He's just here to show up and win, and he's in a pretty good spot to do just that. Since the restart, he has led 25 laps.
And he just cares about wins, but if he competed full-time in the last, or at least close enough to full-time in the last 2 seasons of ORL and made the chase, he probably could be competing for a back-to-back championship. He's been so strong in all the ORL races he's ever been in. It's no surprise to see him battling in the top 2 for the entirety of this race, and he's going to probably extend this gap to about a few more tenths by the end of this run, whenever the end of this run might be, because that Carr, I can't imagine he has any tire left, but Carr doesn't have any tire left, but it looked like that really hurt Bailey Turner more than it hurt the 37.
Well, Bailey was the one on the bottom kind of shaving the tires off, so that was not really good long-term strategy for the 24. He fought hard and long enough to be a detriment to his long-run strategy. We are past the 1/3 mark of this race and trudging towards the halfway mark in about 15 laps. Any favorites on the line just yet? The 37 or the 77? You got to pick between those two?
I think you got to go Adam Cabot. The long runs are, it's usually in ORL races at these 1.5 miles or close to 1.5 miles. The long run speed is what usually wins your races. I don't think, unless we get a bunch of restarts, I don't know if Zach Carr can get the Cabot.
I think I have to agree with you. That 77 is looking pretty good. Meanwhile, Jeff Wright, the 2 car, running 13th. And perhaps this is the biggest, issue of the night. Is Jeff Wright's 3rd in the points. He's only had 1 win to his name. It came relatively recently. Or no, it didn't. It came back in Watkins Glen. I was thinking of somebody else. But he has had 2 fourths in the last 3 races, an 11th and a 2nd in the last 4. But his last half of the season has been just as inconsistent as the first half. And this is, again, I don't think the consistency is there to be the champion, especially not when you compare it to guys like Hernandez, who have been pretty much scoring top 10 since Homestead back in April, and Zach Carr, who has had a similar record. He has scored no worse than 5th since April 24th. So that's a pretty spectacular record for the 37 car as well.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you have a playoff format or just a straight-up points battle. You need to be consistent regardless of what format it is. Top 5s are going to do it and win. You just top 10s here and there, maybe a top 5 or a win there, and then just finishing badly in a few races, it's not going to cut it. You have to be at the front competing for wins in ORL to win a championship in this series. And guys like Zach Carr and Ryan Carl, not much Ryan Carwell this season because of races, guys like Zach Carr, Jonathan Hernandez, guys like that who are always in the mix of the top 5s, top 10s. That's why they're at the top of the points battle. Jeff Wright's only 21 back, but these inconsistent races aren't going to cut it. He's made his way back up after that penalty, all the way back up to 12th, so he's still charging.
So the field has settled in now for a bit of a long run at this point. But what about our tire strategy when you come to pit lane? We've been out here for 30 laps, another 15 or 20 before you hit pit lane, Connor, or do you come sooner for tires?
Wow, for Zach Carr, someone like Zach Carr is about to lose 2nd position to Ryan Carwell. I think you might have to try some sort of undercut to get to Adam Cabot and get around lap 34, and I think you might be able to do 1 stop here, so maybe go another 30 laps, but if 1 stopping is not possible, you probably do pit in the next 10, 15 laps, but I feel like they might be able to make it to around lap 90 or so, and that's when you'd want to pit if to do a 1 stop, because Carwell's going to complete that pass for that 2nd position pretty easily.
We've seen in the past that if you can stretch it, it's better to just do it than it is to try to pit an extra time and make your ground back. Just the track position battle is too much, even if you've got a tire advantage over somebody else. There's Caleb Weekly back in 14th. Eddie Trejo in the Amazon number 21. And Bowers and Calusa trading spots for 7th. Move the 20 car up the spot. Now, speaking of Bryce Calusa, you mentioned him a little earlier. Comes in tonight 6th in points. He's been another driver that if he just threw out 3 or 4 of his finishes, he would probably be leading the points. If not for Zach Carr. He's had a couple finishes this season that were outside the top 10. The only ones being a 15th, 21st, 24th, and a 23rd. Every other race this season was a top 10 or better, and most of those are top 5. So of the races that he's run, of which there have been 16, he's only had 4 finishes outside the top 10. That's pretty consistent. The problem is when he has a bad day, they're pretty much I finished last bad days, and those are bad.
Yeah, you can't have those. If you're finishing outside the top 10, you got to hope it's the top 15, or at least fight for a top 15. Like, okay, 12th there and 11th there, but then back into the top 5s like that, that can win you championships. But when you run bad, when you running bad equals just an absolute disaster of finish, it's just not going to win you championships. And unfortunately, that's why he's sitting down there in that 6th position. He could be, like you said, he could be way farther, way closer in that championship fight than he is right now. He could be second, let alone leading the thing. But those bad finishes here and there just absolutely kill momentum. And when you don't get any points from a pole or the halfway points, you're going to get those 7 laps. When you get none of those and really just have a bad point stay in general, you're just not going to be involved in the championship play.
Casey Leconus is on pit lane.
Kind of a car. Called it a day? Oh, the engine blew on his car.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's
blew down the front stretch.
End of the day for Leconus, unfortunately. That's just how it goes sometimes. That all goes back to the damage that he got in the stack up early in the race, and he just was never able to repair that car enough, and it just overheated and blew.
Yeah, got to be careful. Looking at Jonathan Hernandez has the same type of damage. Front end's completely beat up. Got to wonder what the temps on his car are. Running in the 18th position, not in line for those halfway points.
Jeff Wright coming down to pit lane. So we've got about 80 laps to go, so he's going to split this into a 2-stop race from here. We're at 1 now and then 1 again. At probably about lap 110, I'd imagine.
Let's see, hitting around lap 70, I would say, yeah. Lap 110 would definitely be when he'd pit next. And with an 80% fuel tank, I don't know how long an 80% fuel tank can go in these Cup cars, but we'll see what the rest of the field does in reaction to Jeff Wright. It might be one of those things where he pulls a few more drivers in. One more driver coming in the pit lane. That's Ben Laughter for that round at 12th position. So we'll see if this can drag in some more drivers on this 2-stop. I think Zach Carr might want to try it.
Yeah, I think we'll know within the next 2 or 3 laps if this is the prevailing strategy or if it'll be staying out longer. Typically, if you're going to have drivers make a 2-stopper, they kind of come in over the course of 5 or 6 laps. When they end up trying to stretch it, they all end up coming on the same lap just because they're all trying to go to the exact same number versus, strategizing a little bit around a 2-stopper. So we'll see what the prevailing strategy is. We've seen a handful of takers already for the 2-stopper. As for the 1-stopper, that's a tall order, I think. We've been on track now for 38 laps. You might be able to make that go, though, right? I mean, how far do you have to go? You have to go to...
Hit around 34 under yellow, so to make it 1 stop, that'd be about, stretch it over 116 laps, so about 58 laps on this.
It's a long time on a 1.3 mile track, but it's possible.
Around lap 92 you'd have to stretch it to, so about 58 laps on a 10, 80%. I don't think that's possible on 80% tank. I know it's a smaller track than a mile and a half, and you're on the gas less, obviously, but I feel like, I don't know, we're going to wait and see. You've got 20 more laps to get to that mark. I don't know if that's going to be the play. I think Jeff Wright might have found something.
Well, we'll know pretty soon, because the window for making a 2-stop strategy that makes sense is sort of running out. I would think if you're going to be on a 2-stopper, you'd want to pit by lap 80 85. Otherwise, the runs are so short, you don't really maximize the tires because you'd be running too long on this set and cost yourself time now versus later.
Yeah, if you wanted to do the 2-stop, you'd have to have done it when Jeff Wright did it. I think he did it at the perfect time. Hit on lap 70, then do 110, split it in 3 even stints. And doing it at 75 now, you're giving away time to the 2, and you'd just be giving back. It'll probably be tough to pass him because of how the aero push is. So I don't know. But the thing is, Jeff Wright does have to go through traffic. He is having to dice his way through slower traffic like Joshua Banks, who's actually in 10th, which is good after his incident. But I think the rest of the field is going to do that 1-stop. I think these guys, if they knew that they had to do 2 stops, they would have hit by now, especially guys like Cabot and Zach Carwell and guys who know the fuel strategy. So I think this is the strategies. I don't think we're going to see any more 2-stoppers. It's going to be Jeff Wright versus everyone.
Well, Jonathan Hernandez just hit pit lane in the 19 car, but again, he was sort of off strategy because of the damage. Bailey Turner just took 4th place away from Ray Massey. Yeah, I mean, again, as we cross the halfway point of this race, they could see it as, we made 1 stop on the way to halfway. We make 1 more stop on the other side of halfway to get there. I mean, mathematically, you think you'd have a pretty decent idea of what you could do on fuel prior to the race. But Connor, how many drivers, this is always a question I've wanted to know, how many drivers go in knowing the fuel strategy versus how many drivers just go out there and run until the tank's empty?
I think a lot of guys run until the tank's empty. Whenever it comes to a league race I care about, which is a lot of the leagues I care about, I usually do a run in practice to see how long the fuel can go, run the fuel dry, and I know how many laps the fuel can go, and then I can strategize around that, see what stints I want to do, and all that. But a lot of guys don't do that. A lot of guys just practice just to get acclimated to the car and just try to feel how it handles on maybe a short run, maybe expecting a bad race. But I feel like it's important to know how long the fuel goes, especially in a league like ORL. We've seen a lot of races go green. North Wilkesboro last week, a short track, beating and banging. No, one caution. It was, as we're going to see, one of the front runners come in this time. Ray Massey comes in from 5th, but I feel like it's a smart idea to run the fuel dry in a practice session so you know your boundaries, but I just don't think that's the case for a lot of drivers.
I think the other thing is it's just hard to predict, right? I mean, if you have a caution come out like we had earlier, and all the calculations you did just kind of got thrown out. Do you know how many caution laps are at every racetrack? If you don't know that, your calculations are pretty much useless. Do you know how much fuel you burn under caution? Do you know how much fuel you burn on a caution where you have to run an extra lap? But here comes the race leader, and I think that answers our question. I do not think that you can go 70 laps without pitting, so they're going to split this up into what I would guess would be 35 laps stints here, and basically run this out on this stop and one further like we expected.
Yeah, they'll probably have to pit with about 20 to 30 to go. A big window, but that's probably where it is. I really think Jeff Wright played it perfectly. Jeff Wright and who's the other guy? Other driver, Ben Lafter came in with it as well. Jeff Wright left me in a higher position than Ben Lafter. I think this might work well for the two. And here comes Zach Carr. I bet he wishes he came in before Cabot, but the fact of the matter is he just has to get a really fast entry and just hope for the best.
Here comes Bryce Calusa following him down as well. Alex Bell coming in behind him, and the diecast dude in SimTV Toyota Camry. And off into the boxes they will go.
Bell trying to go to a spot. Bailey Turner says he's going to pit this time, so I don't know if he led a lap, but he'll stay out front for a little bit. 6 seconds ahead of Braden Bowers, and he will peel off this time.
And he did lead a lap. Big charge into pit lane, but he gets it slowed down. A little bit of a lockup there at the end. So that answers our questions about the strategy, and now it just comes out down to who played the strategy at the right time. If we're thinking about Jeff Wright, well, he was way back in the order, but he's running mid-pack now and has a few more spots left to gain. So while Jeff Wright is not going to win this race because of that strategy call, it certainly could have helped him out and get rid of some of that gap that he had to the front runners.
Yeah, I'll definitely give him some track position, and if he catches a yellow while back at the front, it's perfect. I didn't pay attention to the tire sets much, but he did have 4 extra to work with. I don't think that will really come into play. Only had the 1 yellow, and then everyone else came in for their second set. So that's really not in the play. Everyone still has enough tire sets to complete the race easily, and I think this should work out decent for Jeff, and I wouldn't be surprised if he caught a yellow, but it is pretty spread out. But he was on top of the fuel strategy, and that's why he had to be on top of the fuel strategy. I think he knew that he had to get off sequence to try to get back into the race, track position-wise, and he made the most of it. Whoa, Bailey Turner got in the way of Bailey Turner there. Bailey Turner coming on fast tires.
Brandon Bowers there at the exit of turn 4. He gathers it up, but it almost looked like he wanted to hit pit lane, but couldn't do it with the car behind him. He's run 50 laps. Ricky Williams behind him has run 51. That's the longest we've seen anybody go. And I don't even think we put eyes on Ricky Williams yet today, but there he is in the number 11 Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, he's up there. Decent run. Stretching that fuel, only 3.5 seconds off of Bowers, and whenever you're close to Bowers, it's a good day. Here comes Alex Bell behind Bowers. Bowers just trying to duck out of the way.
So
out of these guys.
Ricky Williams, now let's have a look here, right? He's done 52 laps on fuel, and he would need to go about 7 or 8 more laps to make it work. 8 more laps, I think, would get him to a window where he could make it to the end based on the saving that he's doing. He has backed it, I think he's backed it way down. And he's just trying to save fuel. No, he is saving fuel, so he's trying to make it work. I just don't know how that's going to work.
I'm Brandon Bowers ahead of him. I'm not hearing him putter at all. He's just running it normally on old tires. So I think they're both trying to stretch it, but in different ways. As they're pretty spread out from each other. 3.5 seconds between the two. Matthew Close is on the same strategy, but 10 more seconds back. And then it's Jeff Wright and Adam Cabot who are converging on each other. So 3 guys trying it. Bauer's definitely in the best spot to make it work, but like I said, I haven't heard him clutch and coast, so I think we said 92, and I think he's got to go about 5 to 8 more to have a realistic shot at this.
Yeah, I think 5 or 6 laps you can get it done. Anything shorter than that, it will require immense saving. Ricky Williams has backed it down significantly. Now, the only thing that you have to worry about when you back it down that significantly is the time you're giving up now going to be worth it, right? I mean, if you give up too much time, you might as well just come to pit lane.
Like Brandon Bauer just did. Look at him way up to the top lane, actually into a wall, the race leader into the wall. Ricky Williams just hit pit lane on 87, almost missed pit lane, so I don't think he made it far enough, and now Bauer's just put himself in the wall, letting Eddie Trejo and Joshua Banks by, so I think he's just giving up way too much time. A 33 flat last time by, and Adam Cabot, who just got by Jeff Wright, was 2.5 seconds faster. I just don't think you're gonna make enough time up with this.
Well, we'll see how this all...
Well, David Mott Jr., he's into the front stretch grass. He comes into pit lane illegally, and he's going to stop in his pit and stop in someone's pit and maybe call it a night after that.
Yeah, that was a big moment there. All right, back up front, Adam Cabot should be the one that takes the lead away, and indeed he will be that driver. And you can see behind him Jeff Wright in second place. That was a big gain for the 2, but he's already a second slower than everybody else around him. But I think it's still going to be a positive change, right? Because Jeff will only have to run out here for 20 more laps. He'll drop around to about 6th or 7th, I would think. But if he doesn't drop farther back than that, that was a pretty sizable gain for him.
Yeah, I think he's got a realistic shot at the top 10, without a doubt. He did a really good job getting in and out of pit road. Got through the traffic on the older tires that he had to deal with pretty well. And I don't think he's going to lose too much time. Last I checked on that last run, he was in 12th, and he's about 10 seconds ahead of Bryce Calusa, who's in 12th right now. So I think this is going to work out. I think he did a really good job on this. And he's only, like you said, about 20 more laps to go. And no marks on the car for the most part. And I really think he did a good job. He played the strategy perfectly, and he's going to recover his race, so to speak, thanks to this.
Even better would be if you would get a caution in the next 5 to 10 laps. That would put everybody in a window to make it, and save and resume Jeff Wright's spot near the front of the order without him having to do the drop back part. Jonathan Hernandez trying to salvage something from the night after the contact he had with Alex Bell earlier. Again, came into the night second in the points. This is almost certainly going to remove him from second and maybe tumble him down even to third or potentially even fourth. Just not a good night, and you just can't have this if you want to be a championship winner. Every round has to be good, and this is not a good one for Hernandez.
Brandon Bauer just left the race, so he must have sped or something on pit road or had some sort of issue, because he's called it a day. I don't think he sped. I'm trying to look at what he did down pit road. He actually missed his box, so maybe that's why he called it quits. But that one-stop strategy just went from bad to worse.
Bailey Turner in the 24. Now he pit a little bit later than everybody else, so he's kind of on an upward climb right now, but back in 6th. Has some climbing left to do. If you recall earlier, he led 1 lap, staying out a little longer than everybody else. But he hasn't led any laps organically, and I think that's got to be bothering him a little bit. He's been so close, just hasn't been able to run up there and take the lead away from anybody the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, the first run he was there with Cabot, but after Cabot started pulling away, he was just really struggling to stay ahead of Zachary Carr. Slides up in front of Chuck Sweeting right there. But he really got caught up in that battle for second with Carr, chewed up his tires and fell back to around 5th on that last run. And now he's just trying to fight his way back to that position. He's going to probably get it from Jeff Wright into this corner. And he's probably going to get Ray Massey as well. So the overcut looking like it's working in his favor right now. But I think he's got to be careful, make sure his tires stay on the car.
Yeah, wow. Just cuts right around the bottom of the racetrack. Gets by Jeff Wright in one fell swoop, and now puts Ray Massey on the chopping block. That's battle for 4th. Zach Carr is the next one up the road, 2.2 seconds. Track has gotten a little cloudier throughout the day, but the temperature continues to rise on the racetrack. It's kind of still soaking up the energy from earlier in the day. And it is really not cooled down like I would have thought. It is getting progressively hotter. I wonder how that's affecting tire wear out there.
Definitely making the right rear tire wear worse, because you're going to have these guys just slipping and sliding more and more, even with the cloud. the clouds around the track. These cars are just not going to get more stable throughout the race. They might get tighter, but even then you're going to have more tire, whereas David Turner and Williams, two cars battling it up there. But these drivers are just going to have to adjust to that temperature change and adjust their driving style to how the car is starting to react maybe differently because of this different temperature. So a lot of guys got to stay on their game, especially Cabot, Zach Carr, the guys who have been fast all day, all night. They have to make sure that their tires stay optimal temperature. They really don't want to get out of their rhythm. If you get out of your rhythm at a track like this, it's pretty much game over. That wall comes up in a hurry.
So right now we've got 15 drivers on the lead lap as we close in on lap number 100. And here's a battle for 5th spot, Massey, Sweeting, and actually make that 4th, Bailey Turner here. So Turner, Massey, and Sweeting for 4th. And it looks like the green car, the 74, getting a pretty sizable run. The finish of the paint of the 74 kind of this uncanny matte green that like makes it look like it's just kind of plopped into the world without any shadows or shading. It's a very interesting color.
It definitely is a color I probably haven't seen on a Cup Series car, but he makes it work and he makks it look fast and good at the same time. He's had a lot of good runs this season. I'm trying to remember where he's in the championship, 11th in the standings, has missed a few races in this chase as well. 100 points behind Zach Carr coming in tonight, but still having a really good run. Trying to get the run off the corners. He's been doing that same line all night, enter high, exit low, trying to get the runs out of these corners, but it hasn't really made him, he hasn't made it work too much because when he gets to someone's bumper, he has to lift, just like right there, but he does still have to run on Ray Massey.
There's a superstition in racing about green cars. Drivers in this series are not shy about running the green, though, between Cabot and Turner and Sweeting. And at one point, I think Zach Carr had some green on his car. It just, a lot of green. And the superstition has not yet made it over to the ORL garages, that's for sure.
No, it definitely has. All those long tag cars, I think, started it, and they're not going to go away until it's over. Those long tag cars. At some point in ORL, when you're going to stream a race, I guarantee it, and you're going to have like 20 long tag cars for whatever reason.
It's like the Bass Pro cars or the monster cars in the Xfinity series, or how there's like 3 of them.
Oh yeah, or like Lecott cars grouped together, always right next to each other, always the same color and all that.
Well, lap number 100 is complete this time through. That means we have 50 laps to go. And that means that we've got also one more pit stop. Pit window for the 2 car opens in 10 laps. And he will want to hit pit lane as quickly as he can. He's getting run down pretty quick. But things have started to equalize around him a little bit. People are not gaining on him by seconds. It's more like tenths at this point. So I think that's, again, this is going to work out. He was down in 12th, I think you said before, and he's running 7th right now. He might lose 7th, 8th, and 9th, but even then, he'd still gain a couple spots. This is still a good call.
Yeah, I think he might lose 7th and 8th, but those two, that battle for 8th position is actually really tight. Alex Bell and Bryce Calusa have been in a dogfight for the last 10 laps at least, as they're just not giving each other any room. As Bell, with that damage, is still fighting for his positions. Calusa is just not going to let him go down easy, though.
This looks a lot like the battle for 2nd we saw earlier between the 37 and the 24.
We didn't really see any winners out of that battle.
No, we just saw some losers out of it, and I think the 15 and 20 are kind of engaging in the same sort of short-term gain, long-term loss psychology here, where they each want to get ahead, but they're so viciously battling about it that they're going to end up losing time overall. Joshua Banks is a couple seconds behind. Big slide for the 15 out of turn 4.
That could have been a situation where he overcorrected, just like we saw Hernandez do earlier. He did a good job holding on to that car, but that might be battle over.
Up front, battle is now. For now it's over, but it's not over for the entire race. 31.5 for Cabot last time through. 31.4 for Ryan Carwile. I'm not convinced that we are done seeing the race leader swap positions this race.
Well, how the racing's been after getting new tires, I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Wright gets into this just because I think you could potentially catch a yellow. Right now, the only battle is to get your lap back. That's Matthew Close, who's actually reeled down Adam Cabot trying to get on the lead lap, and now people running down his Carwile just kind of got a bit of a shove from Robert Gaba, who's also a lap down. So that's going to get him out of the group. Let Zach Carr catch back up. And And like I said, you just said it, I don't think this battle's over at all. I think Carlisle's looked strong. The only problem he has right now is lap traffic passing him, and Zachary Carr is going to be an issue of his as well, and Jeff Wright might come into play as well. So there's still a lot of time left to determine a winner. Nash doesn't have this at all yet.
Here is Zach Carr, the quickest of the front 5 the last time through, and has his sights set on the 77. He got beat on the long run earlier, was shuffled out of the top spot, and I think that he is tired of running back here on the long run. He'd like his spots back. He's trending upward right now. Again, quickest car of the front 5 that time through.
Once again, Cabot is still just fast enough to extend that gap. Just barely faster than Cabot, Zach Carr was. It was only by thousandths. That lead growing 2.8 seconds at the line last time by, as lap cars battle behind Cabot. More dirty air for the other 2 drivers to deal with. As Carr has to find a way by this 71 soon before green flag pit stops, because you want to be the first one to make that decision to undercut Adam Cabot. I'm sure all these 2 are focusing on is who gets the undercut on him first.
Sun back out at the exit at 2. That's going to heat the racetrack up potentially even more. Here's a look at the track information. Air temp 89, 124 degrees Fahrenheit on the concrete surface around here. An 11-mile-an-hour wind out of the northeast. As we near lap 110, I'd expect the 2 car to start thinking about hitting pit lane. He's good. He can hit pit lane whenever he wants. Actually, anybody could. I mean, pit window's open. It's just a matter of how long do you want to run on your current tires before you come down, and how long can you run your tires after before they start to lose significant pace. I'd say the sweet spot for the 2 car is in 2 laps. For everybody else, it's about 10 laps or 12 laps from now.
I'm interested to see who takes note of his strategy, because we've seen in the past someone's on an alternate strategy, and maybe the guys that are ahead of them on track might be like, I like that strategy, I think he's going to beat us, and then they'll just pit right after that driver. So I wanted to see if people react to Jeff Wright pitting soon here, see if anyone reacts to that. Maybe Adam Cabot, if he thinks that that 2 car can beat him on that strategy, he might want to pit with him and just eliminate any chance of the 2 getting in front of him. So I'm just interested to see if anyone might want to take that route.
Love the corner speeds that you're seeing around here. Into the 120s in the corner and up into the $170s on the straightaways. You know, Connor, you always talk about throttle control and this and that. I think maybe the answer is not always less downforce. Maybe the answer is sometimes flatter tracks. The problem is you see places like New Hampshire, I think are pretty terrible racetracks. I haven't seen a race at Milwaukee in a while, but there seems to be a sweet spot between 12 and 16 degrees of banking, and this track is 14 for reference, where there's enough banking to go fast and find other grooves, but there's not enough to lean on and go very fast around the racetrack to the point where aerodynamics are the only way you can find speed.
Jeff Wright's going to come in this time by, so we'll see what happens with his strategy. But I agree. I think flatter tracks. Whoa! Excuse me. Who was that? I don't know if Alex Bell was coming to pit road or he just got sideways. I have to look at that again. I think he missed pit road. He didn't even come close to making it.
Right on board to see what his hands were doing.
See, he's up at the top.
Yeah, he downshifted.
That was nice. They got to work on that pit entry, Alex. I'm sorry.
I don't know what that was. It's almost like he downshifted, like he was going so slow that he thought he could shift into a lower gear and get more torque, but now he's going to hit pit lane, so maybe that was not intentional.
Oh, got to be careful speeding up. That was very fast in the pit lane. But definitely a miscue there. He's going to lose him a lot of track position, but let's go back after Jeff Wright got out of pit road. Let's go back to that flatter track theory. You talked about how maybe flatter tracks and slower corner speeds are better. It's just we need to find another track maybe to do that, because Nashville does it right, but we've seen reconfigured tracks, repaved tracks like Texas Motor Speedway and Kentucky, who have that flat one side of the track, Texas 1 and 2, Kentucky 3 and 4, and it's just not really great racing, and there's a reason we don't go to Kentucky anymore, and there's a reason Texas loses dates. It's just usually you don't see that type of good racing that we might be seeing as Weekly actually spun on pit exit. But these flatter tracks sometimes don't work. I think you got to make them not as wide, because Kentucky and Texas are very wide, while here you're pretty narrow compared to those 2.
Zach Carr hits pit lane. That was an early call, earlier than I thought, but he is going to beat critically Ryan Carwile and Adam Cabot to pit lane. He was back about 2.5 seconds. a lap or two undercut would get him those seconds that he needs. So the question is Cabot or Carwile going to respond? And no. Cabot will not. Will Carwile? Yes, he will.
Got to get there. That's interesting for Cabot not to respond. I think 2 laps is enough for Zach Carr to get track position away. We know how important track position is going to be. Ray Massey comes in. I think the 20 Bryce Calusa came in the lap before Zachary Carr, so the floodgates are opening.
Good stop too, a 14.3 and 41.1 seconds on the pit lane. That's a pretty good time in and out. Cabot should hit pit lane this time if he wants any chance to keep the track position, or he's going to, oh, here he comes. I was going to say, he could run longer and do the overcut, but you're kind of running out of laps, 35 to go. And this is exactly on the number. This is halfway between when he pit last time and the end of the race. So everyone staying mathematically where they were expected to pit.
And for Jeff Wright, the other drivers, maybe they did take note of the strategy and didn't want Jeff Wright getting in front of them. Bailey Turner, I believe, got out ahead. Yes, he did. Got out ahead of Jeff Wright. So did Zach Carr, and here comes Carwell off the pit lane. He's going to get beat by Bailey Turner.
So 37 of Zach Carr is looking like he might pick up the race lead. Adam Cabot is about ready to leave the pit lane. He's getting the left sides put on the car. The 37 is on the front straightaway. He's going to take this lead away, and it's going to be a pretty sizable advantage, I would think. Here's Cabot rolling onto the pit exit. You have to stay on the apron all the way through 1 and 2. Here comes the 37. 35 laps to go, and he's going to take a commanding lead at the exit of turn 2.
But that was a really good pit sequence for Cabot, though. No one else is going to get him, only the 37, so he has no one else to pass. Bailey Turner will not get to him, so it's going to be, I think it's going to be a pretty easy road up to the 37 through a bumper for Adam Cabot.
Well, it's a 3-second advantage, 2.7 now as they come out of turn 4. It's a 2-lap difference in tires. That matters, and the gap is coming down pretty quickly. Cabot got a really great launch on the front straightaway and cut that lead down significantly, but it's not over till it's over. We'll call it when it's there, but just over 30 to go, and there's still a handful of cars left to make pit stops. Banks, Williams, the last 2 that need to make their stops, and it looks like Banks is coming on down.
Just Ricky Williams left out there now. Carwell and Bailey Turner door to door for that position, which should be the battle for third, as those 2 are going to be dead even at the line. Bailey Turner on the outside now. Maybe he's learned what Zach Carr did and maybe he'll apply it to his own race.
Earlier, the 24 fought with the 37. Maybe he learned something this time, maybe just to let this go.
Carr 3 wide on lap cars, excuse me. He had the, that's how desperate he is to get space between him and Adam Cabot. He went 3 wide for the lead on Ricky Williams there, and Matthew Close involved as well. He does not want that 77 getting with him.
Well, he has a decent lead, but he is driving a lot slower, and I don't think that's all tire. It's only a 2-lap difference, and it's 0.3 of a second. I think that Zach Carr is just struggling here on this short run for whatever reason. Cabot now 1.5 behind, and now has clear racetrack up to the top runner. And we're going to have 30 to go, not this time, but next time by. Yeah, 37 better run.
Yeah, like I said, Ricky Williams, that was the pass for the lead for Zach Carr, so Ricky Williams back to second. He's actually back to about 5th, possibly. No, back to 4th. He will be back to the 5th, but I think Zach Carr's trying to figure out, I think he's searching, I think he's trying to figure out how he has a chance, how he's going to give himself a chance at winning this race, because he knows 77 has his number on the long run, and the 37 might have him on a short run, but 77 has 2-lap pressure tires, and there's no one in between these 2 drivers now, so it's going to be a very tough battle for Carr to hold back that 77, but he knows how to defend.
30 laps to go here from Nashville. Jeff Wright up inside the top 5. He's having a really good day, all things considered. He's going to salvage what was going to be just a mediocre, if not poor day, with a decent, if not amazing run. For a day that didn't look like it was any great, I think he'd take a 5th or a 6th. But for Zach Carr, he does not need to win this race. Remember, the guy that is running in 2nd had a pretty miserable day. He's down in 14th. The guy that's running in 3rd in the points is 5th. Carr is racing Cabot as if this matters. It doesn't really matter. Cabot's not competing for the championship. What this would do was basically solidify Carr as the driver to beat. Unless he has 2 terrible rounds in the next 2 races, he'd be pretty hard to uproot from champion.
Yeah, but we've seen Zachary Carr. He's not racing badly by any means. Obviously, he's in the lead. He's been top 5 the entire race. But there's times when it's easier it's less risky just to let the guy go instead of racing him and risking him putting you in the wall. And that battle with Bailey Turner, it was just too much of a risk in my opinion, because side by side at a track like this could go badly, and it did go badly. He got turned, but he was luckily able to save it. But those battles, if they might not work out like that all the time, you might get wrecked and you might be out of a race, and there goes your point gap. So I think these next 2 races, he's got to be careful. He's going to have likely a bigger point lead unless something drastic happens. So for Michigan, which is kind of like a half race, in Arlington, which who knows what can happen there, you got to kind of get your head back in the game. You're not racing for wins. You're racing for a championship over the wins. So you got to prioritize what you want. You want a championship for the season, or do you just want race wins? I mean, in his spot, you got to go for the championship, and you got to be safe. I think you have to back into those battles.
He's going to be put in that spot, I think, before the end of this one. Cabot is a touch quicker, but once Cabot gets to the 37, that's a decision Carr is going to have to make. Do I battle for this win, or do I let him go? Ryan Carwile is not too far behind Cabot either. And then behind them is just Bailey Turner and Jeff Wright, the people that he's battling for the championship. At least Jeff Wright is one of those, as well as the 71. So Carr will have to make that decision before the end of this race, and hopefully, for his sake, he doesn't. But he's going to have to drive quicker because he is getting run down about a half a tenth a lap. And that is just about enough time for Cabot to get there, if you do the math.
We know how Cabot saves his tires on the long run. I expect in the next 10 laps that will go from half a tenth faster, a tenth to 2/10 faster. And Zach Carr, I know I just said how he has to be safe and maybe not fight these battles, but unfortunately, when you're coming down to 20 laps to go and you're the leader and you're getting reeled in, I know that's better than anyone. Your brain does not let you back out of a battle for a win this late in a race. You can't in this situation. Like I said, I know I said all that stuff about him being conservative, but when it comes down to the very end and you're in the lead, how can you not battle?
You know, it's not always doom and gloom either. If you battle and you still finish second, not a big deal. It's just the risks that are associated with that battle are what you have to watch out for. And as long as you accept that risk, then feel free to race them.
It is a big risk. We saw the battle they had earlier before the first yellow of the night came out. They were almost hitting, side drafting each other, getting really close to each other, and that was early in the race. That was the first third of the race, and this is going to be for the win. So who knows what can happen, especially if Ryan Carwell gets into the mix, and if these guys stay side by side, if they get side by side, not a guarantee yet, but if they get side by side and race each other hard, it's going to be a 3-car battle. Could be big.
The other thing to keep an eye on is the laps led tonight. Haven't really talked a whole lot about that. Cabot led 74 laps. That's one shy of half of the laps led tonight. Zach Carr has led 42. So no matter what Carr does, he cannot lead the most laps led, which isn't a huge deal, but a point or 3 will matter at the end of this season a whole bunch. So, you know, it's just as the season goes on, you're going to start counting all the points that you could have, would have, should have gotten. And Carr drove really aggressively at the beginning of this race, gave up ground, and didn't get it back. And that point, hopefully, won't end up costing him.
I hope not, because it would be pretty harsh if a championship or second place in the standings came down to a single
He just
point
got
like that.
way held up in turn 4 by Jonathan Hernandez, and that was maybe on purpose because that Hernandez, again, battling for second in the standings, running 13th. It's a poor day, but that brought Cabot right into the mix with 20 laps to go. Here Connor races on.
Well, how big is he going to block? He's not going to block him all the way to the bottom. Cabot's going to have the bottom line. Hernandez lost Zach Carr about 6/10, and that could be the difference for the race win as Cabot sends it into turn number 3. Carr trying to hang on the right rear. He just can't do it.
Adam Cabot back to the race lead, but is it for good? Carr stays on the outside, and now we have that side-by-side battle we were expecting to see. 37 turns in a little early. That cost him. He's going to slide up the racetrack and kill all the momentum. And Cabot might be able to clear him. He can't. The 37 stays alongside.
He's not going to go down the side draft him. I think I would have. He's sent it hard into 1. I don't think he's going to make that stick in the turn 3. He just doesn't have the tire to roll the center of the corner like Adam Cabot is. Cabot's going to try to force him out of the groove, and there it is.
He got him. Oh, he's almost going to hit the wall. He had to lift out of it at the exit of turn 4. And Adam Cabot goes back to the race lead with 19 laps to go. Cabot, buried in 19th in the standings, has only run 8 rounds this season, but he's won 2 of them. He's got a 25% win ratio. Could make it even greater than that by winning tonight.
It's about to be 3 for 9, 1 out of 3 or whatever it might be. That was a good pass. Cabot stayed strong on the bottom and made sure that pinch by Zachary Carr didn't affect him at all. I just wonder how much later that pass would have been if Hernandez was not there. That was very costly for Zachary Carr.
Well, pass complete. Give the lead away to Adam Cabot. He's going to try to run the next 18 laps. Meanwhile, other battles happening on the racetrack have sort of fizzled. Here's Ray Massey. Jeff Wright running 7th. Now, Jeff Wright should stay here for the rest of the race based on his pace. I would say that a 5-spot gain for all that extra strategy that he had to pull, I'd say that was worth it.
Oh, no doubt about it. He started 7th. It's been a roller coaster. He's been up the field, down the field, all the way dead last. And now here he is, back to where he started in 7th place. Lecott is going to look under him to pass him, but it's definitely been a good recovery race. Not going to be enough to gain points on Zachary Carr. He's been strong all day, but definitely a good recovery considering what it was looking to be.
Casey Leconus is running with repairs made in the last 61 laps. He is 61 laps down to the overall race lead. That is a lot. That's some of the most I've seen in an ORL race, but he's out there just trying to gain what he can. The reason why, because there's a handful of drivers that are 58 laps down, 48 laps down, 46 laps down, and I don't think he'll be able to catch, he actually will be able to catch all of those drivers and get 3 spots, so that was a good call.
I think getting Bowers will come down to the final lap. Let me see then, but that is about 3 spots that he can gain. He'll definitely get Allison Mott Jr. By the end of this, and Bowers will be close, but he repaired the blown engine, and it's running like it's brand new right now.
Zach Carr in the 37. Losing ground now to Ryan Carwile, who's a 10th faster than him the last time around. Carwile's been remarkably consistent today. He's been in the top 5 the entire race.
This is just what he does at these ovals. He might not always have the outright race-winning pace, but he's always up there in the top 5 fighting for every position. And that's how he won that race at Charlotte. He just stayed in it and got the benefit of the doubt and got the track position when it mattered most. And he hasn't gotten that same fortune just yet this season, but he's always been in contention at these ovals when he's in the mix racing these. So another really strong run. Not surprised to see this.
Under 15 laps to go. Cabot leads by 1.2 seconds, but that lead is growing. Haley Turner and Chuck Sweeting. This is a battle for 4th. And Chuck's coming with a head of steam and 4-lap fresher tires. And this means that Turner's 4th place run is probably short-lived here.
And it worked pretty well, but this is when it absolutely kills you at the very end of the runs when the tires just completely die. And that's what happened. That's what's happening to Haley Turner. Obviously it's happened to Jeff Wright already, but it's happening to the 24 as well. And you just said over the radio telling Chuck to slow down. I don't think that's going to work, but it's worth a try. That dirty air is definitely going to affect the 74, but that's why he's been running high in and low exit to get that run off the corner and eliminate dirty air from the equation.
Casey Leconus just passed Brad Allison, puts Allison down to 23rd. Leconus up to 22nd. Carwile still reeling in Carr, 10th by 10th. Also to note, Mike Hurley, who's running 17th, he had his force feedback having issues tonight, where it was maxing out over every bump. And he has been running since the drop of the green flag. He is 2 laps down. That's a tough one, Connor, to have that sort of issue. It's like no power steering in a real Cup car. That's a long night.
Oh yeah, it's a long night, and it's just a hurtful night, and it might be drenched in sweat for all we know. So only being 2 laps down like this is a pretty good feature. 17th, I don't think he'll be upset about that, considering that is where he's starting. I think he'll be pretty happy about that. He hasn't retired from the race like a lot of drivers have tonight. Joshua Collins, Park, Brad J. Allison, Casey Lecott is still on track. Josh Collins, Brad Allison, David Mott Jr., Brandon Bowers, and Matthew Close, the 5 retirees from tonight's race, alongside Shambliss and Jake Flumen didn't start.
Sweeting with a great run here at the exit at 2. See if Turner goes defensive or if he'll stay put. He will go defensive.
He doesn't want to give up the bottom this time.
Very subtle move that Turner does. He just moves over half a car width. Not a big block. He just lets you know that he doesn't want you to go down there. There's a block on the front straight, pulls over left. Sweeting will follow.
And the half a car length looks like 2 car lengths from Chuck Sweeting's viewpoint.
It does.
It makes you much more angry than you think it might. Cabot pulled that move on me at Nashville. His was a full car length though, and blocks like that make you want to run him into the corner full throttle, but you just can't do that. I know Chuck Sweeting is definitely not the driver to do that. Once again, trying to high entry, low exit, but I think he got to the bottom too quickly. He's losing his tire grip now. Bailey Turner's using dirty air to his advantage, but he gets a big wiggle out of turn 4.
Laps clicking down, running out of time. There's a couple battles forming. This is one of them. For 4th between Bailey Turner and Chuck Sweeting, and also for 2nd, Carr and Carr are getting very racy in the final moments of this one here from Nashville.
Battle for 2nd, alongside a battle for the 11th position, which is actually the battle for the lucky dog for the time being, Ben Laughter and Eddie Trejo.
We've only had 1 caution tonight, just like last week at North Wilkesboro, where we thought we'd have a whole bunch more. Whoa, the 74, big slide out of turn 4. He gathers it up. But we'll lose some ground onto Bailey Turner. That will shift our focus back to the second place battle between Carr and Carlisle.
Trying to get any air on the nose possible, trying to get lower than the 37 is, but just not doing quite enough. Chuck Sweeting got loose out of 4 and he hit the wall actually. That's why he slid down the banking there and able to collect himself, but he'll have a struggle to get back to the back bumper of the 24.
Coming to 5 laps to go. Ben Laughter, Eddie Trejo. This is, as you mentioned, for the lucky dog spot. But I'm not sure that it's going to matter in the next lap or 2 as we start to wind down the opportunity for a green-white checkered. Wobble for the 21. 64 of Laughter will complete that pass. Cabot is slowing down a little bit, but he's not losing any significant amount of his lead, so I think he's probably safe here.
Ooh. Especially with Zach Carr sliding the way he is. I can imagine Cabot just conserving the car, not pushing it more than he has to. Obviously no fuel concerns, unless he underfueled it, which I highly doubt. That would be a big catastrophe, but I think he's just saving his stuff just in case.
Ooh,
he might want to stay out. Trejo and Ben Laughter leading on each other. They want that lap back.
Well, I'm not sure it's going to matter unless they crash, at which point.
It was that case.
And neither of them would get it at that point.
Yeah. It would help Hernandez. I don't think Hernandez would get the lucky dog, but he'd at least be in line for it.
Coming to 3 to go. Carlisle mounting an attack on the back of this 37. We have not really seen Carlisle ever be very aggressive, Connor. This is probably the time when you want to be. If you're going to make enemies, you might as well make it in the last 2 races of the season when you're going to have an off season to think about it anyway.
Or forget about it.
Or forget about it, exactly.
That's the goal. Another battle. The battle for 4th is heated back up. Chuck Sweeting back to the rear bumper, Bailey Turner. Lecott is maybe helping Sweeting a little bit here, but still can't get alongside or even let alone to the 24 yet.
So all around the racetrack, things are heating up in the last couple miles here at Nashville. 2 laps to go, just 2.6 miles left for the race leader, Adam Cabot. Zach Carr and Carlisle fighting for 2nd still. And Bailey Turner and Chuck Sweeting. They've been at this for a handful of laps. Alex Balge. Oh, Carr spinning on the front straightaway.
Who is that? That's Joshua Banks. Sorry, that's the backstretch. Joshua Banks is in the grass down the backstretch. He's going to come back up in front of, I think that's the 10 of Caleb Weekly. He's able to save it, though, and we avoid a yellow. That
was real close. 15 car got loose, bounced off the wall, clipped to 36. Sent him for a wild slide. He did a good job gathering that back up as we hit the white flag, and Cabot is safe now from a caution.
Luckily, as the battle for 2nd closes in, I don't think Carlisle has enough time to get to the rear bumper for 37. Battle for 4th still heats up, and there was a battle for 10th, but that was Bell and Max. As we're going to see the guy, dominant driver of the night, Adam Cabot, got the lead, never looked back, never a doubt. It's been an absolutely glorious ride for Cabot.
A 1/3 win ratio. It is Music City, and the music to the ears for Adam Cabot is seeing the checkered flag. He will win at Nashville. Zach Carr, 2nd place. Ryan Carlisle, 3rd into the line. 4th place, Bailey Turner. Chuck Sweeting, 5th. And some other battles happening behind them. But Connor, what a drive by Adam Cabot. He just took it from Carr tonight. He just outdrove him.
Yeah, straight up outdrove. Zachary Carr had the short run speed, but we've seen in these ORL races time and time again, you need long run speed. You need to learn how to save the tires. You need to do it better than anyone else, and that's just what Adam Cabot specializes at. And these concrete tracks, he's really consistent at these concrete tracks. He's great at Dover. He's great at Nashville here. He's always a threat at Bristol. It's not very surprising to see him in victory lane here again.
Wantech Carr celebrating here on the front straightaway. Both top fives for those drivers. Cabot will celebrate for the third time this season in the 9 starts that he has run. Not a chase competitor, and that's a key factor for a couple drivers that did not have such good nights, including Jonathan Hernandez. But Connor, Nashville race is pretty darn good. I got to say, this was a pretty interesting race to watch. Some good battles all throughout the racetrack, and not a lot of crashes. We only saw really 2, and one of them didn't even trigger a yellow. So a good night for racing here on Sim TV and for the Outsider Racing League.
The double burnouts on the front straightaway by the 2 teammates, and it was definitely a good race. This track is entertaining in the driver's seat and from spectator viewpoint as the engine blows on one of the cars. It was definitely a lot of fun to see these drivers flying into the corners using a lot of brake. If it was a nighttime race, we probably would have seen those rotors glowing, so very entertaining.
Interesting to note that the chase competitors were not the ones that prevailed tonight, at least not at the top of the order. Bailey Turner, Adam Cabot, Alex Bell, and Joshua Banks all finishing top 10 without having the chase colorings. Joshua Banks still salvaged a top 10 even with dramas in the late going. And here's a look at some of the drivers who finished down the order. Casey Leconus finished 20th, and he did actually pass Brennan Bowers on the last lap, so that was worth the effort, I think.
No doubt about it. He waited as long as he could. Well, he didn't wait as long as he could. He waited the least amount of time he could, and it paid off, like you said. He just barely got that spot.
So we're going to talk to our 3 front runners. Ryan Carwile is the one that comes home in third tonight in the number 71. Ryan chasing Zach Carr in the closing moments of that race. Weren't quite able to get to Zach Carr, but a good battle, and you were up front the entire night. Take us through your evening.
Yeah, I started out qualifying tied for second with Alex, and I think the key is just when you're stuck behind somebody, with the aero wash, not to push too hard and then try to pounce when you have a chance. So, yeah, I think I was around P2, P3 most of the evening, but that last pit stop, Zach jumped us. That was the difference because we didn't quite have enough tire to get around him.
Well, a solid night of racing tonight. The points, you dropped down a couple spots, but there's still 2 races left. We head to Michigan next week, and then we finish things off at the season finale at Darlington. What's the plan for the next couple rounds, and how do you think you're going to do?
Honestly, since I had to take that week off, I haven't really looked at the points at all. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Obviously, Zach doing pretty well last 3 races. It's going to be pretty tough to beat him, but, we'll have fun.
All right, Ryan Carwile, third place tonight after starting in third. Ryan, thanks for talking. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Second place for the 37 car of Zach Carr tonight. Zach, you started this race in first. You came home in second after leading a whole bunch of laps. You're still going to walk out of here leading the points, but do you feel like you missed out on an opportunity to win another one?
Yeah, frustrated after that one. I mean, we definitely had a fast car early in the race. I couldn't really figure out the long run early on, but then after first run, I kind of realized I needed to adjust some things like the brake bias. The car got faster over the run, the second run, and I realized I might be faster than Adam. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to have to short pit him, and then maybe I'll just get lucky enough for the tires to even out. And, plan worked up to Hernandez, and when I got up to Hernandez, I mean, he just kind of raced me, which is understandable, but I thought it was a little much. But it kind of killed the right front there, and then let it cool down for a few laps, and then my idea came working again, where I started running down Adam, but it just wasn't enough time.
Well, Zach, not quite a win tonight, but you're still going to be in position to win this championship. You've got 2 races left to hang on to it. Best of luck to you at Michigan. We'll see you there.
Thanks, Kyle.
Moving on now to our race winner, Adam Cabot, who's only raced 9 times this season, but it seems like he's in victory lane quite a bit. Third win of the season, Adam. Congratulations. Just straight up outdrove Zach tonight. Take us through your evening.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. It's good to be back racing here in ORL. It's definitely been a little while, but I heard that the race in Nashville tonight, and I absolutely love this track. Actually went to the race, visited Bailey Turner down in Nashville, and we went to the race, had a good time. And I've just really taken to this track. I like how technical it is. I like obviously this package that we're running here. But yeah, I knew clean air, you know, it seems like every single race we've run, clean air is important. I'm always saying this, but I knew it was going to be important tonight, and it definitely was. So, you know, Zach got out to that early lead, and that first caution came out right when we were side by side. I was just trying not to use up my stuff too early and ran him down the long run there. And I don't even know if I was going to be able to clear him, because it's really easy to pinch the car down the inside and get them loose now with this new aero stuff. And I got lucky with getting a nose out front, and then was pretty much able to have track position the rest of the race and get out ahead on pit stops and stuff. But I didn't know that Zach jumped me on the pits for the last pit stop. I didn't even realize he pit until I got out of the pits and saw him out ahead of me. And I thought that might have been a race losing mistake, but I really wanted to save my stuff in that last run so I could make one hard charge to try to use up my tires to get by him. And then I got really lucky with Hernandez, the 19 car, really battling hard to stay on the lead lap, and that slowed Zach down enough to where I knew that that was my one chance probably to really pounce and use up my stuff and get around him. And you know, he fought hard with me for a couple laps there, and I wasn't sure if I was able to clear him, but was barely able to. And then at that point it was just smooth sailing.
All right, Adam Cabot wins here from Nashville. We'll see you hopefully one more time throughout the season. Congratulations. We'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, Kyle.
Connor, brief thoughts on the conclusion here from Nashville. It was a solid race, solid round, but we got 2 rounds left to determine a champion.
Yeah, 2 more rounds, 2 very different tracks in my opinion. We know Michigan, how that can be. It can be a kind of a draft fest with the high downforce package they run there. I think we'll see slingshotting there. It will be sort of like a Daytona and Talladega, and you'll probably see a lot of people laying at the back at a track like that. And then if you get through Michigan, well, you got to go to probably the toughest track on the NASCAR schedule at Darlington with the low downforce package. I'm not sure we've seen the low downforce package at Darlington and ORL, so it's going to be a different challenge than what we've been seeing. Another low grip track that if Adam Cabot runs it, we might see him at the top yet again, but I think Zachary Carr is in a great spot. Unofficially by my count, my counts are usually wrong, but I think unofficially he has a 32-point lead over Jonathan Hernandez, so he opened it up by about 20 points tonight, and he's looking to do more next week.
Well, that's going to do it for us tonight here from Nashville Sim TV. We'll see you next time on Tuesday for the Indy Elite Series, the GP of Long Beach, presented by Raise Energy. We'll see you on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern for qualifying for the GP at Long Beach. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.